Hello, good morning. Yes, thanks everybody. The sort of thought of doing this was really exciting. It was also quite a challenge because we've got people from really diverse backgrounds and with different roles and understandings of Red Ladder. So how to get into that material. Think of 6 words that describe, that are pertinent to, that are the essence of Red Ladder. And you're going to offer one of your words to somebody else until you've found someone with who you've exchanged words that you both like.
Inclusiveness, entertainment.
Political theatre makers, community.
We want to fit into the wider ecology, and one way we can do that is helping other companies.
Working with artists and finding a common denominator in their work and actually wanting to help support it or wanting to grow with it.
Yeah. Fearless, provocative, political, theatre makers, community.
As a pair, again, hook up with another pair so that you end up with 4 people and 8 words between you.
We've got vital, rare, bold and stimulating.
Challenging, relevant, brave and political.
Brave, yeah. I like brave.
I like the word relevant.
If you're not relevant, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Progressive, adventurous and evolvers.
Ideas or tensions in society or in philosophy, opposite ideas struggling towards synthesis.
Red Ladder, I think, is incredibly important to the theatre industry in a couple of ways. One of them is that the work is of really high value and the work meets a huge range of audiences and meets a lot of audiences who aren't widely catered for. Work which is exciting and engages them in questions about the world that we live in, and it does that in a way which is neither patronising nor tedious. And there's not enough of that work around. So Red Ladder is incredibly important in being pretty much, if not unique, then very, very rare in that respect.
I'm going to reduce 8 words down to 4 between you, but you can do that in a more discursive, group way.
Renegade.
Stimulating suggests that it's quite challenging, isn't it?
Making you think, there's some processing going on.
Yeah.
I think I want dialectic. I think it feels right for what they do, and certainly in terms of the questions that, when you're making theatre with Red Ladder, the questions that are being asked are very
dialectic, social conscience.
There's a real care for everybody, and they're wanting to support everybody.
What about welcoming?
Socially welcoming, or just welcoming.
Yeah, welcoming.
It is a platform in creating new artists, I suppose, and allowing artists to have an individual voice. I've personally found that through my work with Red Ladder, I've been able to kind of develop as an artist individually rather than having to kind of fit into a mould or a platform. I feel like there's a lot of development there, but it's also about kind of gaining your own voice and your own, and by doing that, creating a really diverse platform of artists to go out and create more theatre.
They're just really always open to ideas and chats and going, what can we do? And that kind of open-heartedness is incredibly important.
They've been massively instrumental in terms of helping me connect with people in the region. The first job I had when I moved to Leeds was with Red Ladder MD in their community show, Promised Land. And I met so many people through that, and I think in terms of networking opportunities, in terms of being around people who want to make interesting work, who have a massive respect for the artists that they work with, who want to feed the region with their values, who want to support movements within the theatre industry, who want to support movements politically. I think they're really, really valuable, and I don't think there's anyone like them.
Tell us a little bit about how they arrived at these 4 words.
And the last word, which we were very proud of, was dialectic. Ideas existing in tension together, working towards not necessarily a solution, but I think Dan used the word synthesis. Things exist in opposition to each other, but they can exist mutually, and we can move forward and find our way through that together.
We've got brave. So the work that's been created by Red Ladder and has been created, and that it seeks to create, I think, is brave. This next word should be the other side of it, challenging, so that if
the work is brave, then that's what the company's doing. But what the audience receives, or the way the audience engages with the work, is by being challenged. So these two words, kind of two sides of the same coin, and I think demonstrate the relationship that Red Ladder want to create between their work and the audience.
Collaborative. We had words like sort of community and inclusive, and we didn't think they quite nailed it, but we kind of feel like the process in sort of getting the work, you know, from an idea to how sort of Red Ladder works with different, like, you know, writers and theatre makers. It's very collaborative, it's very sort of inclusive.
Were there any words that anyone felt they had to really fight for?
We probably discussed political posts.
Rod's politics and the politics of the company are not about having a big leader who says what things are, you know, and that's where that struggle is. And what does that mean in terms of how the company is run? Actually, I think it's quite a fundamental question. The valuable things for me about Red Ladder is how generous they are and how embedded they are in terms of supporting new artists and supporting new work, and we've just not talked about that. But I think, but actually, that's something that, interestingly, I think is quite invisible within. So this, for me, is all about going. There's big society, and it's challenging and brave, and it's popular. But actually, in terms of what the company is, it's more than just that.
But I do feel that the vibe that is kind of spread across people that work with Red Ladder is, from my point of view, like really empowering.
Actually, there's a whole side of Red Ladder that I don't think gets presented. Actually,
and that is important.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think in the context of NPO, I think Red Ladder is incredibly important within the region in terms of artist development.
But you've got the work at the centre of the table, and off the back of that, you're also accepting that, let's develop the artists that are on this as well.
This is where Red Ladder are being proactive. This is what we're going to do, and then building it that way round. And likewise, I didn't know that all of these different. It's brilliant to turn up and find all of these different, incredible, interesting artists are part of the Red Ladder family, and yet you've given them support and help and care and nurture. And yet that's not trumpeted. There's a whole element there's things that it feels to me like that. Look at all of these artists that we support. We work with these people, and you have to be good at saying that. There's a strand of you are supporting young artists, you're supporting emerging artists, training artists, and artists in their careers. Yeah. All three of those. That is a really strong strand of work.
Look at like the racial makeup of Red Ladder and who work with Red Ladder. It's really diverse, and it's also, if I look at my CV, it's probably one of the only credits I've got where I'm like, okay, well, I'm not playing I'm not a refugee, I'm not a slave. Actually having a platform where there is an openness in it's not even an openness, it's not even an issue, it's kind of that whole point where it's not even an issue, that's very rare, that's an amazing thing to kind of sell as a strength.
Finding the work-led seems to be quite core to a lot of conversations we're having, whether it's artistic development, the way you're reaching out to young people, and even what you're talking about there with Knee High and all these. Knee High 20 years ago didn't plan to be in the position they're in now. They did it because they just carried on making work that they loved and it worked. And maybe that'll happen for Red Ladder. But the only way to find that is to carry on making work that you love. And at the end of it, even if you don't have Knee High status, you've got work that you love. But it feels to me that you're seeking to challenge the establishment, to promote equality in society. These are really beautiful, virtuous things that is called whichever of the two kind of gloomy, cheerful thing you're doing. And that's what Red Ladder kind of feels like it should be for me, because that's what's present in everything, no matter what form you take. Of the four elements, it's probably fire that Red Ladder is, because it'll do the big society thing with fire. That look, this is what happened in Edwardian times. It kind of mirrors it now. It's energetic. It's fun, but there's something really important about this, an urgency about this. There's a fire behind it. There's an urgency behind it, because it still talks about how working class people were fucked over in the past, and they're still being fucked over today. And so the psychopath thing was also presented on the table with the same fire as Rongden has been. And so I don't think that there's there necessarily has to be two hats, I think the hat needs to be the hat of fire, whichever one you do it with.
Hat of Fire.
Hat of Fire.
Anyone get into theatre company?
That's why he's got no hair.
The Hat of Fire is about having the right set of tools, the right aesthetic to engage people with that issue and to blow their minds, because that's what theatre does, hopefully, at its best.